I'm Neil Walter for Kit Guru, and I have here many fans from Cooler Master. It's the Cooler Master MasterFan Pro range, and there are 5 fans, 3 in 120mm, 2 in 140mm. Let's look at, so there we have the 140 air pressure, there we have the 140 air flow, here we have the 120 air pressure, 120 air flow, and 120 air balance. It's the air balance I'm looking at here because I've got 2 of those. I've got 1 of each of the others. There is not a 140 air balance. Before you go any further, that question in your mind. So what we have, different blade configurations, primarily also different speeds. So 120 air flow, 7 blades, and they are thin blades. That operates up to 1900 RPM, 120 air balance, 9 blades goes up to 2500 RPM, air pressure, 5 wide blades up to, all the figures are on Kit Guru. I mean, reciting numbers is just the dullest thing on the planet. The point is we have 5 fans. The question is, what do they do and how good are they? Now, the air balance, which is the sort of hybrid-y kind of, it's between air pressure and air flow, you'd kind of hope you can use it in most configurations, particularly in your case and also on radiators, strikes me as the most interesting because recently I looked at Corsair's ML magnetic levitation, and that's also a kind of hybrid sort of fan. Now, I have to say at first glance that the air balance from Cooler Master and the Corsair, I mean, they're fans, but they don't have a massive amount in common, not at first glance. So doing a straight comparison with them is of keen interest. One particularly novel feature with the Cooler Master is on the back here we have this tiny little dip switch, because the fan has 3 modes, P, Q and S, silent, quiet and performance. And essentially that caps the upper speed of the fan, so you can set it to go rah in the bias, but if it's capped by the switch, that's going to override the bias setting, which is an unusual thing to do. I've not come across that before. So we've got fans, we're going to look at the 120 air balance primarily, but we've also got that business about this 3 mode switch, which changes things. It's also worth mentioning at this point, they're cheap. They range in price from £11 to £14. The 120s are cheaper than the 140s, and which is the cheapest lot? The 120 airflow is the cheapest at £11, and the 140 airflow is the most expensive at £14. But realistically, 11 or 14, what the hey? That's not a lot of money. Particularly as we've seen some RGB fans recently go up to £40 a piece. I mean, I haven't seen them yet myself. We are aware of them, we've done news on them at Kit Guru. So let's crack on and show you the test bench we've got, which is really rather fruity. So the case is a Cooler Master Master Case 5 Pro. Motherboard is an Asus Sabertooth 990 FXR2, and the processor is a very toasty AMD FX 9590. That's their 8-core, that's 220 watt TDP. Graphics card is a GTX 980, and the reason is because this is a limited edition NVIDIA branded case. I'm sure they wanted me to put a GTX 1080 in there, but 980 it is. Such is life. Liquid cooler is a Corsair H100 IV2. That's a 240mm, which is sort of it's the meat and drink of liquid coolers. It's absolutely a workhorse and an absolutely brilliant piece of kit. And despite the fact I showed you a moment ago the basic unilluminated 120mm Corsair fan, what you've actually got in there are a pair of blue LED Corsair ML fans. So if you see blue LEDs, that's the Corsair. It's a nice little telltale. Now, there's also, and we'll come to this in a moment, an NZXT Grid Plus fan controller, which is significant. I've put it in there initially for laziness because the 2 front case fans didn't actually stretch the motherboard too easily. So the 2 case fans are connected to the Grid Plus, the rear case fan connected directly to the motherboard, and the Corsair fans, as you would expect, are connected directly to the liquid cooler. And my thinking was I'd simply swap out those 2 fans for a pair of 120 air balances, and we'd see how they performed, and that would all be nice and straightforward, wouldn't it just? But things didn't quite turn out that way. So my quick and simple plan, or so I thought, was to switch between the Corsair fans and the Cooler Master fans connected to the Corsair H100i V2 liquid cooler, see which fan performed better, see what sort of differences there were, and that would be job done. Now, the fans, the Cooler Master fans are on the bench here, as you can see, but they're connected to the Corsair liquid cooler, so obviously the configuration at the moment is incorrect in that the fans aren't actually blowing air through the radiator. But that's simply so you can see what's going on. Initially, when I connected the Cooler Master fans up to the radiator in the normal styly, the PC turned on and the fans started spinning and then stopped. I didn't understand it. This happened a few times and it didn't matter which mode the little dip switches were in. Made no difference. So I thought I'd investigate a bit further. Now, I've got running here the Corsair Link software, and although the fans are busy going up and down speed like crazy, the coolant temperatures, despite the fact these red bars look slightly scary, the coolant temperature is actually really quite static. It's in the mid-30s. Although it's a toasty AMD processor, it's only idling on the desktop. It's doing no work whatsoever. So the system's drawing about 100 watts at the moment, and the radiator is, frankly, it's cool to the touch. Anyway, the point is the fans are surging. Now, that might be slightly to do with the fact that it's they're attempting to blow air through the radiator, but the radiator's there and the fans are there. However, the fact that it didn't simply plug in and behave nicely merited further investigation. So here's what I came up with to figure out what was going on with these fans. I was using, as I mentioned before, the NZXT Grid Plus fan controller to hook up the three stock case fans, which are just sort of unspecified model Cooler Master fans. They're just black and they just work. But the thing is, the cables are very short. Cooler Master supplies some accessories in the pack of bits and pieces with the Pro 5 case and also with this limited edition NVIDIA version thereof. But rather than use that, I just use the Grid Plus because that kind of separates the fans from the motherboard, because it all runs off a USB and then uses NZXT software. So we've got 6 slots. These 3 are the stock 3 fans. These 3 are these 3 fellas here, and we've got 2 120s and one of the 140s, air balance, airflow and air pressure. Just so we've got one of each to make sure it's not one particular fan that's doing something a bit peculiar. And they're all set in performance mode and the little flick switches on the back, and they should be humming away at fixed flat speed in Grid Plus. I've instantly put the 2 Corsair fans back on, as you can see by the blue glow on the Corsair liquid cooler, so the temperature is completely static, and in fact it's a very few degrees cooler than it was before. It's 32 or 33, so that's just not a factor. And the thing is, as you'll see from the various screen grabs that are on this review, the fans surge in speed, which you can observe in here, but every so often they simply drop out and a grey bar appears on one of these slots, just like that. And then it comes back to life and it goes green again. And the reasoning is not the least bit clear. My informed guess is it's to do with these flick switches. We've seen something vaguely similar before from Noctua. Whoops, and there goes a fan falling over as it surged up in speed. Goes to show they are working. Noctua uses some inline resistors with some of its fans, and I guess this is a similar thing, that depending on the position of the flick switch, you're adding some inline resistance. In other words, there's something extra in the control circuitry, and it seems to me that's interfering with fan controllers, in this case the Grid Plus. Previously it was the Corsair, although that was harder to spot. The thing is, it might have an impact on a PWM controller on a motherboard, but each time I connected these various Cooler Master fans directly to the motherboard, they behaved themselves impeccably. The reason I was using I was using the Corsair, because that's how you're going to connect fans to the Corsair. So the Corsair, whoops, and they stop. So the Corsair liquid cooler can actually control the fan speed to keep the temperature of the coolant where it wants to be. You need to have the fans connected directly to the Corsair H100i, as with all liquid coolers. So the upshot: they're perfectly decent fans. Performance of the 120AB is basically the same as the Corsair ML. When it was running at 1250 RPM, it was the same. Whack it up to performance mode, allow it to go to 1450, it was slightly better. Fan spins faster, it gets better. No massive surprise there. Compared to the Corsair fans, these are cheap. On the other hand, the Corsair fans just sit there and work, and these certainly have some quirks about, no two ways about it, and maybe quirk is being polite. The construction of these fans is quite different to many fans in the market. Instead of having a square frame and then the fan in the middle, it's a ring, and then these corner rubbers are screwed on, 2 screws at each. You can see all this in the photos. The shape of the ring, it's fairly plain. There is a very slight profile to it, but it doesn't feel like it's kind of ducting the air through. The fact that each of the fans has a different number of blades to its fellow, so depending on whether it's balanced, pressure or airflow mode, quite clearly Corsair's thought that one out. The fact you've got the 3 speed profiles, well, depends. I mean, if you're relying on the fan to do your speed control, all well and good. If you want to allow your PWM control, your NZXT Grid Plus, your liquid cooler, whatever to do it, I'm not the least bit clear that's a good idea. I do wish that Cooler Master would spell out in greater detail exactly what the flick switches do and how they work. Go to the website, you get some decent information. On the box, less so, but then the box, of course, is quite small. So you've got this tiny little table on the back. Again, photos on KitGuru in the usual style. Overall, the Cooler Master fans are cheap. Whether they are cheerful remains to be seen. They are, in their own way, sophisticated. They clearly work, but there are grounds for concern. Depending on how you're using the things, which mode you have them in, they may or may not cause you problems. I mean, you can see from here that these are surging and flickering away. And the NZXT controller, in my experience, has been very good. These are the only fans I've had which have behaved like this. I mean, I tried other fans just to be doubly sure, and Alpha Cool, EK, Varda and such like, and they were absolutely good as gold. So there's something quirky going on. I'm guessing it's those flick switches. Having said that, if you use them in the correct environment, I'm sure they'll be absolutely fine. If you like this video, thumbs up. If you don't, thumbs down. If you want more videos from KitGuru, click to subscribe. I'm Leo Walder for KitGuru, and this is a whole bunch of Cooler Master goodness.